My mother said I was too fragile to raise a child in front of a judge. All I wanted was space to recover from childbirth, but she turned my pain into her performance. When she rewrote my childhood on the internet, I realized that silence was not protecting me, but her. You ever realize your worst wounds were posted like trophies? Hi, my name is Diana. I'm 31 years old. 2 months ago, I gave birth to a baby boy, my first child. He was 7 pounds, 9 ounces of proof that I deserved love. Proof that I could break the cycle. My husband, Sam, he held my hand through every contraction, every scream, every time I begged them to just make it stop. He wiped my face. He kissed my forehead. He told me I was doing amazing even when I was sobbing, panicked, humiliated by how broken I felt. And then, my mother walked in. Late. Loud. Lipstick perfect. Not a drop of sweat or empathy. God, you look like you lost a fight with a truck, she said. Then she laughed. Took out her phone. I'll get your brave moment for the group chat. I couldn't even lift my head. I had ice packs between my legs. A tear in a place no one talks about. But she wanted a photo op. And when Sam told her quietly to please stop, she turned on him. Oh look, the knight in shining armor thinks he's in charge. She took the photo anyway. She posted it that same night. Captioned, our little warrior. Let's hope the baby's not as dramatic as his mom. That was the first time I cried alone in the hospital bathroom. You ever hold your own body like it's a stranger? When we brought the baby home, I left my phone off. For days. I couldn't face the comments, the hearts, the LOLs, the family members calling me a trooper. A trooper. Like I'd gone bungee jumping. Not survived labor with a torn cervix and PTSD. Sam was furious. He wanted to call her. Block her. But I said no. I needed to believe it was just a bad moment. That maybe she didn't mean it. Because that's what I'd always been told growing up. She didn't mean it. She's just strong. She loves you in her own way. But something shifted after birth. Something broke that I didn't know was already cracked. I started journaling at night. 1 sentence a day. Just one. Day 3, I'm scared to be a mom. Day 5, he smiled today. I didn't. Day 7, she hasn't apologized. She came to the house uninvited the second week we were home. Holding flowers. Fake ones. Plastic. Still smelled like perfume. She didn't knock. She just walked in. Enough drama, she said. Let me hold my grandson. I looked down at my baby, sleepy, soft, safe. Then I looked at her, mouth tight, arms open, as if the last 2 weeks hadn't happened. And I said, no, you will not hold him. You will not see him. She laughed. That slow, low laugh that meant I was being ridiculous. You're emotional. You regret this. And then she added, don't forget who raised you. She left the flowers on the counter. I didn't touch them. That night, I found one of the petals in the baby's crib, cold, plastic, and sharp-edged. What if the person who taught you strength only did it by breaking you first? You probably think I overreacted. That family's complicated. But when she mocked my pain, it wasn't complicated at all. It was cruel. The fake flower petal in the crib right next to his cheek. I still don't know how it got there. That night, she went online and called me an unfit mother. I didn't see the post until 3 days later. Sam found it first. He didn't even say anything. Just handed me his phone like it was something toxic, like he didn't want to be the one to break it to me. There it was. A screenshot of me in the hospital, swollen-eyed, holding our baby with N4 still taped to my wrist, posted in a Facebook group of almost 40 relatives. Her caption read, our new arrival. Mom's a little tired, but hopefully the baby will turn out more sturdy. The comments? Worse. She's always been sensitive. Just like her teenage years. Drama, drama, drama. Poor Sam. Hope he knows what he signed up for. I read them while rocking my son at 3:17 a.m., half awake and milk-stained. And in that moment, something inside me snapped. Not like a scream or punch, I wasn't angry. I was empty. You ever feel grief for someone who's still alive? I had spent my entire life craving my mother's approval like oxygen. Now I just wanted distance. Sam deleted the app off my phone. I told him I'd block her. But I didn't. Not yet. Why? Because I still wanted her to apologize. Some part of me, the child she raised, still hoped she'd call and say, I went too far. Instead, she called my aunt. Aunt Brenda came by unannounced, holding a casserole and an opinion. She just wants to help. You're not the only one feeling overwhelmed right now. I stared at the casserole. Cream of mushroom. My mother's favorite, not mine. She crossed a line, I said. Brenda gave that tight-lipped smile people use when they think you're being dramatic. Maybe. But she is your mother. There it was. The phrase I grew up hearing. She is your mother. As if that title granted her unlimited access to my body, my baby, my boundaries. The slow part wasn't her betrayal. It was mine. The way I kept looking at my phone, waiting for her name to pop up. The way I kept checking the door, wondering if she'd show up again. I didn't feel angry, not yet. I felt scared. Scared that maybe she was right. That I was too sensitive. Too soft. Too emotional to raise a child. What if every fear you have was planted there by someone who claimed to love you? Sam noticed it first. How I flinched when the baby cried. How I apologized when I couldn't soothe him fast enough. How I looked for her approval in his eyes, like I was still 12 years old. One night, he said something I'll never forget. She doesn't get to keep hurting you just because she helped raise you. And suddenly, the silence I'd been living in cracked. That night, I walked to the nursery alone. Lit only by the blue glow of the nightlight, I stared at my baby sleeping, his chest rising slowly under the space-printed swaddle. I whispered, "She will not do to you what she did to me." The next morning, I mailed back the flowers. No note, just the crumpled petal in a Ziploc bag, taped to the top of the box. Then came the text. Just 5 words. From her. No punctuation. No apology. Just, "Stop this nonsense, I'm coming." Have you ever felt your stomach drop over a text you've read 100 times, hoping it would change? The crumpled flower petal, taped inside the box like evidence from a crime scene. She wasn't asking anymore. She was coming. I didn't sleep the night she sent that message. It wasn't fear exactly. It was something worse. That old gut-twisting feeling, like being trapped in my childhood bedroom, while the doorknob rattled and someone shouted my name through the wood. Only now I had a baby in my arms. Sam offered to stay home from work the next day. I told him no. I needed to face her myself. I think I wanted her to see it, to understand that this time I wasn't 12 and sobbing. I was a mother now, and I wasn't begging anymore. She showed up at 10:14 a.m. Of course she didn't knock. She tried the doorknob first, found it locked, then rang the bell like it was a dare. Over and over. I watched from the baby monitor in the living room, frozen. He was asleep in my arms, warm and heavy. My pulse was in my throat. She waited 5 minutes. Then sent another text. "You're being dramatic. This is embarrassing. Let me in." I don't know what snapped. Maybe it was the word embarrassing. Maybe it was the fact that she never even said my name. I walked to the door quietly, baby still in my arms, and pulled back the curtain just enough to see her face. No remorse. No worry. Just impatience. When I didn't open, she yelled, "Diana, open this door right now. Don't forget who paid for your first apartment." I didn't reply. "You're hurting your family over a joke photo. Are you out of your mind? Would you let someone hold your child if you knew they shattered you?" Sam called her that night. He didn't raise his voice. Just told her she wasn't welcome at the house until she apologized. Genuinely. Not performatively. Not in a group text. Not with a but. Her response. She posted a screenshot of their conversation in the same Facebook group. Captioned, "Apparently, I'm a threat to my own grandchild. Pray for Diana. She's clearly overwhelmed." Overwhelmed. That word hit like a slap. I stopped nursing. Not because I wanted to, because I couldn't keep up. My milk supply dropped from stress. I cried in the shower for an hour the day the pediatrician said we'd need to supplement with formula. She posted that too. Sad to see so many young women give up so easily these days. That's when I hit rock bottom. Not from her cruelty, I was used to that. From the silence of everyone else. My cousins, my aunts, even my father, who still forwarded her memes and replied to her chain emails like nothing happened. I felt erased. Like I was being rewritten in real time, one comment at a time. Then came something new. A message. From someone unexpected. Melissa. My childhood neighbor. Her daughter used to play hopscotch with me in the driveway. We hadn't spoken in years. Her message was short. "I know how she talks about you. She used to say the same things about me, to your face. I'm sorry I never told you." That message cracked something open. Not just because it confirmed my fears, but because it made me realize this wasn't about me being broken. It was about her being comfortable with everyone else being smaller than her. And I wasn't small anymore. That night, I packed up all the baby clothes my mother had gifted us. The handmade blanket. The booties. Even the stuffed giraffe she brought to the hospital. I sealed them in a plastic bin. Sharpie on top. Not for him. I didn't tell Sam what I did next. I waited until he was asleep. Then I opened the old box in the closet, the one with my journals from when I was a teenager. I found an entry. Dated March 3rd, 2007. It said, "Mom told me I looked disgusting in that dress. I thought I looked pretty. I tore it out. I folded it. I placed it under my son's crib, like a time capsule of who I used to be. A reminder of what I refused to become. You ever keep a scar on purpose, just so you remember where not to go again?" The ripped journal page under the crib. Her words buried but not forgotten. The next morning, I got a letter. Official. Stamped. She was threatening legal action for grandparent visitation rights. You'd think the word court would feel like protection. Like a shield. Like someone official would finally say, hey, she went too far. But when you're a new mom, barely sleeping, feeding in 90-minute intervals, everything feels like a threat. I opened the envelope at the kitchen table. My son was napping. Sam was at work. The baby monitor blinked beside me like a tiny heartbeat. I kept one hand on it the whole time I read. Inside the envelope, a petition. Filed through her lawyer. She wanted scheduled visitation, supervised or unsupervised, to be determined. Cited familial disruption and grandmaternal alienation. Claimed I was mentally unstable postpartum. There was a note attached. Not from her. From her attorney. Given your recent history, we suggest resolution outside of court to avoid escalation. I laughed out loud. Not because it was funny, because it was scripted. Like a TV villain had dictated it word for word. What do you do when the person who made you doubt yourself uses that doubt against you? I didn't tell anyone at first. Not even Sam. I sat on it for 36 hours. During that time, I replayed everything. The post. The group chat. The photo in the hospital. The comments about me being fragile. Then something worse hit me. She was building a case. Every insult? Framed as concern. Every overstep? Repackaged as maternal instinct. Every violation? A misunderstood joke. And if I didn't fight back the right way, I'd look like the unhinged one. So I made a decision. I called a lawyer. Not to attack. To defend. She was calm. Methodical. Took notes like a surgeon. I remember one specific moment. Me, she says I'm unwell. Her, do you have proof of stability? Me, like what? Her, screenshots. Medical records. Witnesses. Evidence of her behavior. That night, I opened a new Google Drive folder. I named it, Protect Us. Inside it, I uploaded screenshots of every cruel comment. The hospital photo with her caption. Messages she'd sent Sam. Voice memos I'd recorded from my own breakdowns, not to share, just to remember. And I added something new. A video I took that week. My baby lying on his play mat. Giggling. Kicking. In the background, my voice is soft, tired, reading from a children's book. Then silence. And I whisper he's safe. I'm doing it. We're okay. I almost deleted it. Then I didn't. You know what the worst part was? The silence around me. Not one family member called to ask how I was. Not one person said, maybe she went too far. Even the ones who agreed with me privately didn't speak up publicly. And that silence hurt worse than the petition. Because it told me everything I needed to know about who they saw as believable. Sam finally found out when he saw the paperwork on the counter. He didn't say anything at first. Just picked up our son, kissed his head, and stared at the document. She really did this? Yeah. She wants access? I nodded. He looked at me like I was made of glass. But I wasn't. I was still now. Bending. Not breaking. What if the only way to protect your child is to become everything you were punished for being? We sent our lawyer's response the next day. Firm. Documented. Boundaries clearly listed. No unsupervised contact. No visits until psychological evaluation was completed. And no discussion of my mental health by non-clinicians. Her reply? She posted a photo of an empty rocking chair. Captioned, some of us would have given anything for just one more baby to hold. And the comments poured in. People called me cruel. Said I was taking her grandson away. That I should be grateful she even wanted to be involved. Public post. Grieving grandmother, denied access. Private reality. Her legal team emailed me that I needed psychiatric review if I persisted in refusing reconciliation. I stopped breastfeeding that week. Not because I wanted to. Because my milk dried up completely. Stress. And when I cried over it, not sobbing, just silent tears at 2 a.m., Sam held me and whispered, "You're not weak. You're under siege. You ever mourn something so simple, like feeding your child because someone turned it into a battlefield?" I found one of her old baby books in her attic, mine. On the back page, she had scribbled a note. Diana cried too much. But pretty enough to be forgiven. The court hearing was set. And she was bringing witnesses. I wore navy. Not black, too funereal. Not gray, too passive. Navy. Strong. Clear. Present. My hands were shaking as I walked into that courtroom. Not from fear of losing. From fear of being erased. Because that's what this whole thing was really about. Not the baby. Not even her rights. It was about control. And I wasn't her mirror anymore. She arrived 10 minutes late. Wearing white. White blouse. White slacks. Pearls. Hair perfectly curled. Not a wrinkle in sight. Like she was the bride at someone else's wedding. Like the mother of the bride of Christ. And when the judge asked her if she understood the petition she filed, she smiled softly and said, "I'm just trying to keep our family whole. What if the person tearing you apart kept insisting they were trying to save you?" Her lawyer started by painting a picture. A loving, supportive grandmother. An overwhelmed, erratic daughter. A poor, helpless child caught in between. I didn't react. Not once. Because I knew better than to feed the narrative. Sam squeezed my hand under the table. Then she took the stand. And the lies came pouring out. She won't let me visit. I offered to help and she screamed at me. She's been unstable since the birth. Even admitted she couldn't handle motherhood. She made her husband cut off contact with the entire family. This isn't just about me. The judge asked if she had any proof of instability. She smiled again. Took out printouts of my private Facebook posts. One was a meme. Motherhood is just drinking cold coffee and stained clothes while crying in the bathroom. Her lawyer highlighted it. Said it indicated emotional disturbance. Another post. Today I cried because I dropped a bottle. The baby didn't care. But I did. And one more. A quote from my postpartum journal I posted months ago, trying to be relatable. Sometimes I feel like I'm being raised alongside my son. Like I'm healing the child I used to be. They read it out loud. Mockingly. As if self-reflection was proof of incompetence. Then came my turn. I didn't speak like a victim. I didn't tremble. I didn't cry. I stated facts. Dates. Screenshots. Voicemails. Photos including the one she posted after labor when I could barely sit up. And then I played the video. The court went still as the screen lit up. My baby giggling. Me reading in a soft, tired voice. The camera shaking slightly because my hands were weak but my words were clear. He's safe. I'm doing it. We're okay. Silence followed. Not the bad kind. The kind that shifts things. Her face hardened. When the judge asked if she had anything else to add, she said, "I just miss him. Is that a crime?" And I answered quietly but loud enough to carry. Missing someone doesn't mean you're entitled to them. You don't need fists to ruin someone. Just patience. She didn't scream. She waited. She smiled. She chipped away until I questioned my own reflection. What if the real danger isn't the monster under your bed but the one who tucks you in? The judge didn't issue a final ruling that day. He said he needed time to review everything. But as we were walking out of the courtroom, I caught her looking at me. Not angry. Not defeated. Triumphant. That's when I understood. She didn't want visitation. She wanted the world to see me on trial. To humiliate me into submission. She brushed past me at the exit. Paused just long enough to say, "You're making a scene again. Just like when you were little." And for the first time in my life, I didn't flinch. I turned, looked her in the eyes, and said, "You don't get to rewrite me. You ever feel your spine grow back in real time? Like every part of you that was bent is learning to stand?" When I got home, I found one of her pearls on our front step. Not sure if it fell or if she left it. That night, my aunt called. Not Brenda. The other one. And what she said made my blood run cold. "You should know your mother's telling people you were adopted. You know what hits harder than betrayal? Revision. Not just lies, rewrites. When someone takes your childhood and scrambles it, then dares you to prove it happened the way you remember. She's saying you were adopted." That's what my aunt told me over the phone. Like it was casual. Like she was mentioning a weather update. I was pacing the kitchen in socks with spit up on my shoulder. Holding my son in one arm. Stirring formula with the other. I froze. "What?" She told the family group chat. Said it explains why you've always been emotionally distant. And no one questioned her? Long silence. Then, you know how she is. No. I knew how she was. But I didn't know how far she'd go. I opened the chat. Scrolled past gifts and prayers and happy Thursday blessings. There it was. Sometimes I forget Diana isn't even mine. Maybe that's why she doesn't feel like family anymore. No context. No emoji. No explanation. Just that. Like a quiet detonation buried in a paragraph. What if the person who gave you life kept trying to take it back in pieces? Sam was speechless. He read the message. Then read it again. He asked, "Is this even true?" I didn't have an answer. Because in that moment, I couldn't remember anything clearly. Was there a birth certificate in the house? Had she ever said anything when I was younger? Was this just another weapon or a truth she'd always dangled just out of reach? That night, I barely slept. Not because of the baby, he actually gave us a 4-hour stretch. But because I stayed up going through boxes in the basement. There I was, sitting cross-legged on cold cement, surrounded by old bins and photo albums. A half-burned candle flickered next to me. I opened an envelope labeled Diana, school photos. Inside, nothing before age 4. The next day, my father called. We hadn't spoken in weeks. He left a voicemail. His voice sounded rough, like someone forced him to say the words. You are not adopted. Don't let her play with your head. She's punishing you for something she can't name. Pause. She did the same thing to my sister once. Told her she was the family mistake. That call gave me clarity. But it didn't give me peace. Because now it wasn't just about protecting my son from her. It was about reclaiming me. The court ruling finally came in. It was a quiet win. No visitation. No rights. Pattern of emotional manipulation, public defamation, and boundary violation. But she didn't go quietly. She posted a long message to her 2,800 Facebook friends. Heartbroken. Just wanted to be a grandma. Instead, I was put on trial. If I had known loving too much was a crime, I would have stayed silent. The comments flooded in. Sympathy. Outrage. A few even named me. She needs help. Postpartum does strange things to people. This is elder abuse. I didn't respond. But I did unfollow everyone who reacted with a heart. I made a list. Names I used to care about. Gone. And when one cousin DM'd me, begging to hear both sides, I replied with only 3 words. I lived mine. You ever stop explaining not because they understand, but because they never wanted to? That week, I did something I'd been scared to do. I wrote my mother a letter. Not for her. For me. I didn't mail it. I read it once. Then I burned it in the kitchen sink. The last line read, "You don't get to narrate my story anymore." The ashes floated up, hit the stove fan, and scattered like snow onto a bottle of baby formula. My therapist calls it post-traumatic awakening, when your body finally realizes it's safe and your brain starts remembering everything it once buried to survive. I remembered the way she used to rip pages out of my diary and read them to her friends. How she once said, "If you don't like the way I treat you, write your own childhood." So I did. You don't need fists to ruin someone. Just patience. She didn't hit me. She trained me to doubt, to obey, to shrink. And then she asked why I vanished. What if your silence was the only thing keeping their version of you alive? Public, she blocked me. So cruel. Private, she tried to log into my medical portal using my maiden name. Yes, I got the alert. Yes, I changed the password. I didn't respond. I just bought a safe. Put our legal documents inside. And then I did something else. I framed a photo of myself holding my son, hospital gown, messy bun, tears on my face. That same photo she tried to shame me with. I wrote one word on the bottom. Proof. The day after I hung the photo, I got an email from a journalist. Subject line. Hi Diana, would you be willing to comment on your mother's recent interview? I didn't answer the email right away. It sat in my inbox like a lit match. Subject line. Interview response request, postpartum custody and family estrangement. I didn't have to click to know who it was about. My mother had gone public. Again. This time, she gave a full interview on a lifestyle podcast that covers family dynamics, generational trauma, and reconciliation. The title of the episode? When Your Own Daughter Turns You Into a Stranger. I listened with my heart in my throat. She cried. Talked about how hard it was raising a sensitive daughter as a single mother. How she always tried her best, even when I pushed her away. And then the kicker. She was never an easy child. There were mental health issues early on. I still worry she's not safe alone with the baby. Pause. Sniffle. God forgive me if something happens to that child because I wasn't allowed to be there. That's when I press pause. What do you do when the person who made you doubt yourself convinces the world you're dangerous? I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stared at the screen, quiet, my baby asleep against my chest, his breath slow and warm. And I said out loud, "She's scared." Because I didn't break. I opened the journalist's email. And I replied. 3 days later, I shared my story. Not the tabloid version. Not the sanitized version. Mine. I told the truth calmly. No accusations. No slander. Just details. How she filmed me bleeding and shaking after labor. How she mocked my husband, erased my boundaries, turned family into an audience. How she weaponized concern. How she tried to use the court system to shame me. And how I still sent her photos in the early weeks because some part of me still wanted her to love me right. I sent the journalist that photo, the one she captioned with a joke. Me, post-birth, tear-streaked, clutching my newborn like a lifeline. I added no edits. Just the truth beneath it. It went viral. Not millions. Not a Netflix deal. Just enough. Enough to make people say, "I went through this too." My mother called it love. It felt like surveillance. Thank you for saying it out loud. Sam hugged me that night and whispered, "You didn't just protect him. You rewrote everything." You ever realize that speaking up won't change them, but it might save someone like you? A week later, her podcast episode was pulled. No apology. Just gone. She called once. Blocked number. Voicemail set. "I hope you're proud. You ruined your own mother." I deleted it. I replaced the ringtone for blocked calls with a lullaby. So when silence broke, it sounded gentle, not cruel. My son turned 6 months old last week. He smiles when I say his name. He sleeps with a stuffed rocket and a nightlight shaped like a moon. He's safe. And I am healing. Not healed. Just not hiding anymore. I walked into my old bedroom at my mom's house last month. She's not there. She moved in with her sister after the podcast fallout. The room was cold. Still smelled like her perfume. I opened the drawer she used to keep locked. Inside, a bundle of old letters I wrote to Santa, 3 friendship bracelets, and a photo of me at 5 years old. On the back in her handwriting. Hard to love, but pretty enough to try. I didn't take it. I left it. Because it wasn't mine anymore. And I wasn't hers. You don't need fists to ruin someone. Just patience. But you don't need forgiveness to rebuild someone either. Just truth. In part 1 I said, my son is proof that I deserve happiness. Now, he's not proof. He's the beginning. I don't need to earn love anymore. I just live in it. What if the most radical thing you could do is not become your mother? I hung a new photo above the crib. Me, Sam, and our son. No filters. No captions. Just light. They say silence runs in the family. But in this house we speak. And he will never have to wonder if love comes with a receipt.